Good morning, Denise Dryden here, doing my weekly, exploration on the individual, on parenting, on our energetic sort of, what do we do when things change, right? So today I want to talk about endurance, which is the opposite of instant gratification, right? Endurance is when we are it's when we've been dealing with something for a long time, and we're just like, when is this going to be over, right? So whether we're a family that's been, in the middle of a long winter, whether we've got kids at home and they're adjusting to school, whether we're working remote, whether we, in the state of Washington, are still dealing with no real services and not being able to go in and sit down, doing with takeout. So what we're seeing on a national and global level is, we have power struggles and we have divisiveness. We have health restrictions. We have all of this talk about, what we're going to do to take care of ourselves, what you need to do, what's mandated, what's not. We've got a lot of financial speculation right now, concerns about stock market, concerns about our futures. And we have so much going around that's forcing us to sort of go like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? So we also have this astrological shit show going on, which is kind of like where the astrologers are writing these notes once a week, twice a week, going, okay, so this is what's going to happen. This is what the planets are telling us. And so that's different than what I've experienced in the past, because I'm sort of an astrology junkie and I like to find out what they're going to say. And there's a level of urgency and a level of like, wow, here we go. So let's bring this out of that bigger picture and bring it into you, right? How are you doing? Really, how are you doing right now with all of this? Because the concept is that most of us are enduring, right? We're enduring, which is, and I've got some definitions here which are kind of fun to work with. So to endure is to carry through, despite the hardship and worries, right? To just carry through, to continue in the same state, right? To put up with something that's difficult, something that's annoying, something that's painful. And there are ways to look at enduring, which it is hard, it's a struggle, it's exhausting, and it can get under your skin. It can start to work against you after a while. And that this is going to be here for a while. So how am I going to deal with this, right? How am I going to deal with things that aren't going away anytime soon? So what I love about the word endurance is that it's a long-term practice. It's the power of enduring. It's the focus of enduring. So it's the ability to exert oneself and remain in action for a long period of time. I think about, someone who's snowed in for the winter, or someone who's crossing an ocean in a clipper ship. It's like, yeah, this is going to suck. This is going to take some time. And how am I going to get through this, right? So it's the ability to resist, to withstand, and to recover from, and to have immunity from the trauma and worry and wounds and fatigue of what's going on. So it's really about forbearance, right? And forbearance is to not shut down, not check out, and not pretend it's not there. Don't go into denial. Forbearance is actively partnering with what is up in front of you and going like, okay, so now you're here and you're not going anywhere. I'm not going to take this personally. You didn't personally attack me. This is, how am I going to let it go and break through, right? So some examples I would use is that I have a daughter with a new 4-week-old. She's not getting a lot of sleep. I've been working with a mom who's potty training a 3-year-old who is so resistant and doesn't want to use the potty, right? I'm working with a mom who's untangling old familial trauma. And when that trauma energy comes into her body, it sort of sets her into a spin. I'm working with a couple that have to learn how to put the compassionate vibration of love into their languaging with their children. And I'm working with the family with a teen where there's this denial of executive functioning deficits, and it's just surrounded with anger and frustration on all sides. So all of these are daunting tasks, and they're real. They're the things that we face every day. And they're not going to solve themselves instantly or overnight. Of course they aren't, right? And they're each are going to require us to have a certain set of patterns and skills that we start to develop and start to work on. So the key is to know what you're taking on. Like, what is it that's really in front of me? What is this daunting project that I'm looking at? And it requires a steady, consistent attention from me instead of running away or denial, because nobody's coming to save me. This is mine. I'm going to have to deal with it. It requires patience, and it's going to suck, and it's going to suck for a bit. So how do you live? How do you thrive? How do you deal with life when it sucks, when it's different than what you wanted it to be, when it's not the way it used to be and you don't like it, right? So we have challenges. We have challenges this winter. We're facing personal and relationship issues. We're dealing with local, national, and global events. And we don't really have a model for how to do this because this is uncharted territory. So there are those of us like myself who are coaches who are putting information out there on a real regular basis, which is like, how are we going to deal with this? So ultimately, nothing's going to save us, and stop us from this fear and drama that we're spinning in. So the only thing I can think of is like, okay, the cavalry's not coming. This isn't going to change fast. So own it. This is my new life. And until it changes again, right? Because it will change. It will continue to change because we're in a place where we're dismantling a lot of things. So it's my guess that there are parts of you that are working really well with this. This isn't a gloom and doom video. This is like, it's been hard to learn how to endure, and I would imagine that there are parts that are working. Parts where you've developed a routine, where you have a system, where you've stabilized something, and little parts of it are working. The big thing, yes, gosh, it's overwhelming. Of course it is. But those little things, they're starting to stabilize. There's little areas where you're paying attention. And maybe it hasn't happened to you, all the way around because you're still waiting, right? Like I remember when we went into the lockdown here in Washington in March, it was like, oh, by the summer it'll be better. By September it'll be better. By the holidays it'll be better. By the new year, by 2021 it will be better. So there is this sort of concept of waiting. And that waiting is absolutely detrimental to endurance. So take a moment. And what I'd like you to do is think of one of those things that you're doing really well. One of those things that you've done to stabilize. And what you've adjusted and what's working. And then close your eyes. Just close your eyes and take a deep breath. And think of the things that you've been doing. How does it feel? Let it show you what you've been learning how to do. Let it show you what's been working. Let it show you how it feels in your body when it's working. And you can do this anytime after this video. So for right now, just thank it. Thank it for the information it just gave you, which is like, wow, I guess it's not so bad. I am doing better than I thought. So always thank it. Because it's through gratitude and acknowledgement that things get easier, they get better. So let's go through some tips on what it really takes to build our endurance. So I think the first place to start always is, number one, is to choose something that has a reaction around it. Something that has you just frustrated. Like whether it's this, I just can't stop eating and all I'm doing is gaining weight during this lockdown and during these stressors. Or I've got a kid that isn't getting up in the morning and won't go to their Zoom classes. Or you're angry and you're frustrated all the time. So pick one thing that has that sort of grip that you're like, yeah, that's the thing that isn't going away when I'm in the middle of all of this. This is what I'm struggling with, okay? Now, number two, play it out in your head. Have a conversation with it. Listen to it. Talk to it. Get all the details and issues out. And give yourself permission to whine a little bit, get frustrated, get angry, and admit it so that you've actually heard it. That, like, for example, I did really well until December. And then I started becoming inactive, and I'm noticing I'm not doing my yoga practice the way I want. And I've been beating myself up about, you know, I'm losing tone. I'm getting soft. This is not fun. So talk to it, whine with it, let it inform you, right? And number 3 is what you can do is accept this, that this is the reality, that this isn't in denial. Like, you know, I've never been like this. It's never going to happen again. No, I can't hear you. And go to, yeah, I am starting to get out of shape. I am struggling every day with my daughter getting out of bed, whatever the example is, right? So that's acceptance. It's not personal. Again, don't take this personally. This didn't happen just because you were good or bad or right or wrong. This is just like it's there. So take the charge out of it and just accept it. This is your new normal. Now it has your attention. Okay? Number 4, let go of the waiting. Don't think that something's going to change in a week or 2 or a month or 2 and things are going to get better and it won't be an issue anymore. Because that kind of denial is what goes against endurance. Because endurance is about facing something and just getting through it, right? Number 5, use your breathing. Self-regulate, you know, do those tools that we've talked about in all these different videos before this of grounding and centering yourself so that your body is awake and it's aware and it's ready. So get yourself centered. And I have this card that I love, which is the adjustment card on the Thoth deck, where she's standing on the tiptoes on a sword and she has to work on her balance, right? And then the other thing that I like is the messenger of discs, which is, you know, just follow the energy. Go where you need to go, right? And then the other one is the magician on the Osho deck, which is really sit and ponder and own it. Notice everything, right? Everything, because you have to be aware. You have to be ready. You have to be willing. Okay, and then start doing number 6. Start doing something that works. Focus on that. Focus on the thing that you're doing. I have a friend who has always eaten out and doesn't know how to cook. And what she did is she started with one dish that she wanted to learn how to make, and then she focused on that, and she made it better and better until then she said, well, I'm getting kind of bored with that, so what's the next thing that I'm going to do? So let that be your best skill, okay? And celebrate it. Celebrate it, because this is what you get to do. Celebrate, oh man, I got an hour of sleep today. Oh, celebrate when my little one's sitting on the potty, I get to sit down and just breathe and relax and hold space for him, right? Or I get to recognize how my body feels when it's calm. Or I get to play with this compassionate languaging and learn an entire way of talking with myself, with my partner, with my children, with everybody. So just do what works and start focusing on that, right? And then when you do this, face it, talk to it, pay attention. Let go of being reluctant, let go of the battle, and start to kind of play with it like, okay, so that worked, now what else? And then you let go of time, you let go of the urgency, you let go of the sense of failure, you let go of the idea that the world has let you down, and you just go, so this is me doing what I need to do, and here we go. And that was number 7, and then number 8, of course, is always to thank yourself. Thank yourself, because it's kind of like, I'm learning something new, I'm trying something I haven't done before, it sucks, and I can be frustrated and I can be overwhelmed and I can have these things come up, or I can just bring it down and start with one thing. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.